to another episode of As Real as It Gets. I'm Allison, your host, and today, join with me, I have Rhea. Rhea, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Rhea. I'm a sophomore at WJ, and I'm the assistant opinion editor, as well as the illustrator for the pitch.
And today we will be talking about what it's like to be a first-generation immigrant. I come from Madagascar. Rhea, where do you come from?
I come from Lebanon and Dubai.
And for me, I moved here when I was like 2 months old. Like I was a baby. You know, I could practically say I was born here, but you have a different story to tell. So why don't you start off with that?
So I was born in a town called Zahle, Lebanon, and I moved to, around a week old, I moved to Dubai. And at 3 years old, I finally moved to Bethesda.
Why don't you talk about what it was like to live in Dubai, even though you were just 3 years old? I'm sure there are like some core memories in there.
Yeah, so Dubai, honestly, it doesn't live up to the hype that many people give it. It's a very touristy place, like very vacation prone, like attractions, sites, everything. But being like as someone who lived there, it's not really worth it. And my parents realized this, and they realized it's not a place to raise a family. I have an older brother, and we moved here.
So what was it like when you moved here? Was there some kind of cultural shock that you experienced? Were like certain kids, saying certain things because they noticed you might have been a little more different?
There was definitely a weather shock, I'll say that. Dubai is very hot, but when I moved here, it was also August, but it was a lot colder for what I'm used to. But I went into preschool here, and I already knew a bit of English, but I had a bit of an accent and a stutter. So we were trying to work on that, and then I went into elementary school, and that's when things started going a bit downhill. That's when I realized that kids they're sponges to what their parents say.
Right.
So I remember being called, like, a kid going around joyous calling me 9/11.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I, as a kid, I didn't think much of it, but
Right, at that time, did you know what 9/11 was?
I knew what 9/11 was. It's like everybody
knows.
As a Lebanese person, I'm not saying only, but there were only 2 Lebanese people on like the plane that was hijacked, but it was enough for us to be devastated by all the remarks or like racism.
Right.
And like we just want to let you know, like, there are many political parties in Lebanon, and those people were coming from Iran as well. So it's like Hezbollah. They came in from Iran to Lebanon. They put roots, and it was a whole thing. But
yeah, I feel like in general though, that's just very like stubborn to associate people with certain stereotypes. Like that's like saying Americans are fat because they go big or go home like with their food or whatever, or saying that like Christians are against gay marriage and Christians like are against abortion. But I don't think people understand that there's so many layers and there are so many different people in that one big group. You just can't like generalize it to like every single person you see that comes from that stereotype you might hear of, if that makes any sense. I know like when I was little, this is like kindergarten maybe, and I wasn't really aware of skin color. Like obviously there was brown, there was whatever, but it didn't faze me. Like I didn't notice it. And I had a boyfriend, a little kindergarten boyfriend maybe. He was white, and this little girl, she was like, "Oh, you know what? In the end, like you guys aren't gonna last." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And she was like, "Yeah, because you're brown and he's white, and white people belong with white people." And I was like, wow. So that was the first time that had settled with me that there really is a difference, and there is although there isn't, there is a separation.
Yeah, it's sad that you realize it from such a young age as well, because then you realize that the parents think that way.
in general, it's kind of sad because it's like this continuous cycle, like this, like going through generation to generation, teaching them what to say, teaching them how to think, when they're a fresh mind, right? Like
Yeah.
they don't know what to think. So it's really not them, it's just their environment that they grow up with. And I feel like when we moved here and when we came from a different culture, we knew different things. We knew what it was like to adapt. But here in Bethesda, these kids, they kind of grow up like all their life here. And they're very stuck with this bubble and
Yeah.
the people that are around them. They're stuck with the idea that, oh, I get certain things, like they take certain things for advantage, and it's not their fault, but it's just the way that they're trained to like behave. So for example, like I don't know, if like you're gonna go shopping for clothes and people are like, oh, you're not wearing Nike, like you must be poor or something like
Yeah.
that. And I feel like that's really kind of targeted especially towards colored people, because we have a history where we're at a disadvantage, and we have to kind of figure out different ways of how to just get the necessities, get clothes, get food, get a house, like just the basic needs. We don't really need much. But here in America, I don't want to try to generalize it too much, but it's very like superficial, like it's very
Yeah.
like money based, like go big, go home, sorry, like but a lot of the times, I know for me and my parents, we love our coupons. Like, who wouldn't love their
Oh,
coupons?
yeah, same.
Who wouldn't love their coupons? And we use them every single time we can. And it's not because we're poor. It's not because we don't have money. It's just because we were raised to use every single thing that we have in our hands. So, I mean, yeah, I really just think that for these kids here, with the things that they say, like the harmful things and offensive things, it's just they don't know much. So it's like they're mocking it,
Yeah.
They're mocking the behavior that they see from their parents.
Exactly. Like we as a third world country, like I might not feel as much as like the color that you get, maybe
Mm-hmm.
like racism and that way, but as coming from a third world country, and like my parents as well being raised in a third world country, I grew up kind of like in a similar mindset as them. And like it sucks when people mistake
Mm-hmm.
being smart with money
Mm-hmm.
with being poor,
Yeah.
because in the long run they think about short term. They take that for granted, being comfortable enough to only think about
Right.
short term.
Right.
Whereas from a child, I've been always raised like, you have to get straight A's, you have to get into
Mhm.
a good school, you
Mhm.
have to like, oh, you have to make something of yourself. Oh,
Right.
you can't be a teacher because teachers don't get paid enough. Oh,
Right.
you have to be the leader in all
Right.
situations.
Right. For us, it's very like based off of survival.
Yeah.
For like, I'm thankful that we kind of live in a different culture though, because here they're like, it's okay to do what you want, and we're still living in a different household with a different culture, so it's like people are still adapting, but overall we're surrounded with people telling us about their experience, and we hear from teachers in their experience too, saying, oh, if I were you, I would do this. If I were you, do this. Like, they tell us things that we don't know yet, and even our parents don't even know, right? Because our parents, they come from a different country. They've lived a different life than we have. But we're here in Bethesda, and it's a different world. It really is. I think for us, like, it's easier to kind of merge in and figure out our way, but at the same time, like, we deal with so much pressure of trying to like carry up that reputation of hard work and of making a name out of ourselves, of making money that will last a lifetime.
Yeah, like at home, I'm gonna be a lawyer, but when I'm outside, I'm like, I want to be a police officer. I want to
Mm-hmm.
be a detective. I want to work in law enforcement, FBI. But it's a struggle not being able to explain that to my parents,
Right.
because
Are they like, you have to be lawyer, doctor, or
they're not with doctor, because our entire family sucks at science.
okay?
Like, it's been a known fact, like no one's ever gonna be able to become
Mhm.
a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
But they're more of just like money based and being able to live comfortably.
Right.
But at the same time, they don't worry as much about if it's making us happy.
Yeah.
They don't worry about the times you spend. Do you want to study this?
Right.
Do you, like, will you be happy studying this and
Yes.
knowing you're gonna get
Yes.
into a place where you want to be?
Exactly. That's so important. Happiness, mental health. I think, again, like with our parents, their mental health was kind of pushed aside. So that's all that they know. You know, they know to push it away. They know to put certain things before that. And, you know, you still kind of see how they're affected by that to this day. And I see my parents, I'm like, I don't want to live like that. Like, I want to be happy doing what I am, even if I don't make that much money. Like, I feel like if you're happy doing very simple things, that's all that matters. But it's kind of like they live through us.
Yeah.
They set their expectations on us. And as much as it sucks and it's so much pressure, it's really just them being worried for us and them loving us in a very tough way. And I feel like it's something that we have to kind of make more of an effort to understand as well, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Like, I have an older brother, so he's kind of like the problem child. So I've kind of been raised the same way that my dad has.
Okay.
In that sense, like, it might, maybe not to his extent, or not to his extent, but I was raised, I put everything down. Like, I never expressed any, like, oh, I don't want to have this though. I never expressed, like, I never said, like, I don't like this food. I never expressed, like, expressed any complaints.
Right, you were never able to speak up for yourself.
Yeah,
is what you're saying. Yeah,
exactly. And like, it's just the pressure of that as well. So it carries on to the outside world.
Yeah.
Because they want us to be leaders, but at the same time, that sets you up for being a people pleaser and putting yourself through so much hard work that you don't need to go through just to, like, you could take, sometimes there are shortcuts, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You have to use everything to your advantage, but sometimes being raised like that as well will make you put yourself through these hard roads.
Yeah, you're in a conflicting position, because it's like, what do I want versus what do other people want for me? And it's like, when you're raised from the get-go at a very, very young age thinking, oh, I have to do this now, you don't know anything else. But then when you start growing up and you start seeing other people live their lives and saying, I did this because I wanted to, you're like, oh, but what about me? Like, what do I want? And then you start thinking about that, and then you're kind of like, wow, like, I could have done this, but this whole time I've been doing this for other people. Like, you're living other people's dreams in a sense.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad because, it's not like we asked to be in this position. We were just kind of given it. But I do feel like there are certain things or certain approaches that we can take as to how to handle it. I know for me, my grandma, she's, very Christian, loves Jesus as one would, but at the same time, she's very against gay marriage, I don't think she's necessarily against abortion, but I mean, in terms of like gay people, she's like, that's not natural. And I mean, she was raised thinking that, so she's about 80 something years old. Like, there's no way I can just flip a switch like that and have her change her perspective. But being somebody that's like bisexual, it's difficult to have her understand what I'm experiencing. I try explaining things to her, but sometimes you can only like teach certain things to people that want to be taught. You can't really help the helpless in a sense, because she's just very stuck on the idea that it's wrong. And it's not that I'm hiding myself. I'm just kind of respecting that that's what she views. If she doesn't accept it, she doesn't accept it, but there's no need to like cause any issue, because I mean, not to get like morbid or anything, but she is like old, so she,
same thing, except my family, we're very Catholic. My grandparents are against abortion.
To a certain extent, I do understand like why people are like, maybe abortion like isn't the right approach necessarily, because some people just think, oh, I can just get an abortion. Like, I feel like that approach is just like, that's not the point, it's for those that need it, those that are struggling. And it's so sad, because it's mainly white old men that are controlling us.
It's the same thing with the gay marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It's straight people telling us what
Right.
to do.
Exactly.
Like,
it's
you've
literally
never
love.
been in our position.
Right.
You don't know how hard it is for us, okay?
Right.
Like, for decades, first of all, as minorities in general,
Mm-hmm.
my parents are very homophobic.
Mm.
I can't talk to them about questioning anything
Right.
or doing anything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I actually cannot, because I've heard them talk about
Yeah.
like stuff like that,
And it's awful sometimes.
Yeah, and sometimes I wonder to myself, did I defend us too much?
Yeah.
Like, did I defend myself too much? Am I outing myself? And it brings you back to being in two different worlds. You want to be yourself,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, you're still very much pressured to be the person your parents
Yeah.
want you to be. And
Yeah.
it hurts knowing that when I grow up and I eventually do find someone I really like, if they're
Mm-hmm.
like same gender as me,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't like share that with them, or I can't invite them to a wedding, or
Right.
I can't tell them like,
Just
hey,
share happiness with
yeah, I
them, right?
can't
Just be
share
peaceful
my
with them.
happiness.
Yeah.
Like, if I grow up, I pass the detective's exam, I call them up, I say, hey, I finally passed. They're not gonna be happy for me.
Right. They're gonna be
And-
like, you could do something else other than
Like,
that. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, you're too smart to be doing this.
Yeah.
I want to help people.
Yeah. And there's
I-
nothing wrong with that.
Like, exactly. You can't make me feel bad for wanting to help people. And I know myself, I understand you're trying to, like, you're worried for me, but I know myself,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I mean, maybe not living paycheck to paycheck, but honestly, if I'm fine, I'll probably, an apartment down, like, I don't want kids, okay? Just give me an apartment. Like, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be comfortable myself.
Yeah. I think that's what they're not thinking of us. They're thinking of them. They're very based off of like, if I was them, this. But you're not us. Like, you don't know what we're thinking. You don't
Exactly.
know, you don't know what it's like to be us. Like, if we're happy, if we're telling you we're happy, that's what should matter, And I've seen a lot of people go through this where they've lived under the expectations of their parents, just in general. Like, this can be to anybody, even foreign parents or not. Eventually, they're not going to be happy with what they're doing with their life, and it will take a hold of them. And I feel like it's just going to continue that cycle of expectations and living life through our children. If anything, if I have a child, I want them to live how they want to live. I want them to
Exactly.
live the life
Like,
that I could never live.
Do you?
Yeah.
All right, I want you to be able to have the option to do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I want you to be.
Mm-hmm.
And as you were saying, like, it takes a toll on our happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it sucks when you start feeling that from a young age too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've been feeling it for a couple of years now, and just like, now I don't. You feel sad like a lot more than usual, but you still can't say that to your parents.
Right.
You still can't say like, hey, maybe I should talk to someone. You can't say
Yeah.
that. And then they're like, no, therapists are for people who need them. I'm like, I feel like I need one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do I not qualify?
That's one thing though, like with us, we're scared to tell our parents that because, the whole like having foreign parents thing, I've seen people with like their parents that are white. I've seen them like outright disrespect them, and what they get is like their phone taken away.
Yeah.
But back then, like for me, it would have been like, oh, you get certain things that are not necessarily accepted in society now. And I think it's just like we live in two cultures at the same time, and it's super conflicting. We're kind of in like this no man's land of like, where do I stand and who am I?
Yeah.
Because you're like, at school I'm this person, but at home, oh, I'm somebody else, completely different. And it's hard to be consistent with our happiness if we keep like shifting in and out of it.
It gets tough, and there's something though, like a positive of this. Immigrant parents are tough. I mean, immigrant children are tough.
Yeah.
Like, we are tough. We are now in a position where we know how to handle ourselves
Right.
in certain situations where we
Right.
know like white kids
Yeah.
will never know. Like, they'll
Yeah,
never know
exactly.
how tough it is. So then when poop hits the fan,
Yeah.
like they're not gonna know how to handle it, but we do. And we know what's also good about this, right? Like right now, we know ourselves.
Exactly.
We know what we want, and we know what we're gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, like, you just have to realize, like, you have to snap out of it and be like, you know what? It's time that I have to do this.
Yeah.
I have to do it for myself.
Right.
And, like, that's something.
That's all that matters.
Yes, that's all that matters. The positive of all the negatives. It's
Yeah.
like,
I think that's something about being an immigrant child, is that we have to learn how to look at things from a different perspective, not focus on the negative so much, because obviously it's going to consume us. But if we look at it in the way, like, my parents are just worried for me, they just love me, they want me to have a life where I have everything that I need, it's easier for us to deal with, and it's easier for us to understand them too, because as much as they're stubborn, it doesn't mean that we have to be just as stubborn, you know? I think it just doesn't help when you're clashing always, when you're trying to force an idea on them, just like they're trying to force an idea on you,
Yeah.
you know? It's something that both parties have to work on. I think the main part of it is, you know, as much as we're struggling, I think, like, I saw a TikTok and it was saying, like, your parents are living their life for the first time too. And I was like, it just kind of shifted things for me, because I was like, that's true. Like, this is their first time raising however many children, you know? And the thing is, even though they've had a first child and they've had a second child, everyone's different, you know? Everyone's their own person. And I think it's just important that we kind of understand that they're just going through life too, you know? They're struggling as well, just as much as we are, if anything, way more than we are, because they had to start from scratch. They're the ones that brought us here, you know? We're just a product of that. And, you know, we live with all this pressure, but I'm not trying to invalidate our feelings, because, you know, I know how much it sucks, but they're dealing with a lot more than we are. You know, they're fully adults, living their own world. They're already adapting to so much. And I'm not saying they can't adapt anymore. Obviously they can. But I think it wouldn't be fair of us to say that they're not trying, you know?
Yeah, that's if anything, not the one thing, but it's the one major thing that they're doing. They're trying their hardest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my dad, it's different. I think it's different for your family, but my dad was born with the American passport.
Okay.
And so are we.
Mm.
But my mom, you know, she had to get citizenship and that. But we always knew that we had an out.
Mm-hmm.
Not an out, but, like, we had an option.
Right.
So my parents decided to take that opportunity and, you know, bring us here. And you're right. They're trying their hardest, and it's difficult, of course, for them as well.
Right. Yeah. For me, it's not the same situation for my parents. I mean, my dad, he grew up very poor, and all he's ever known was America is where I want to go. That's literally all he had in his mind, and he was gonna do it no matter what it took. My mom was pregnant with me, and he left her because he was going to America to try to pursue a job that could allow us to stay here because of the, like, conditions that we were going through in Madagascar. Obviously, I was a baby, like, I didn't know what was going on, but I know that if it was that bad that we had to leave, to the point where my dad had to say, my mom was 9 months and he was like, all right, I have to go. My mom gave birth to me. He wasn't there for the first 2 months of me being born. It's not that he's a poopy father. If anything, it's the opposite. You know, all he's ever wanted was to have his kids grow up in a safe environment, in a community where they don't have to walk around eggshells all the time, where they have the right to say whatever they want. And I mean, it's kind of funny that I'm saying this now because, sometimes I'm just like, ugh, I wish you could do this. I wish you could do that. But now realizing it, I understand that, how much hard work he's put into this. And it makes me appreciate him even more. He's always been all or nothing, and here, because we're growing up in this kind of bubble of Bethesda, it's not all or nothing. It's like, oh, if this happens, well, we have this, But for him, it was like, no, it's like straight on. Like, this is what I need to do. I'll do anything it takes. And it kind of makes me realize that how much privilege we have being here. As much as we're immigrant children, as much as we live between two different cultures, as much as we struggle with a lot of things, at the end of the day, we're also in America.
Yeah.
Like we're in a place where we have freedom of religion. We have, we can wear whatever we want. We can, as much as, there are still things that America needs to work on, there are also a lot of things that we've improved on as well. And I think that, it's just something that we also need to be more aware about.
Yeah, like, in Lebanon, we left, we left after the Civil War started, 2006-7 Civil War. And I'll say it, I like being able to walk outside and not worry about anything hitting my house.
Right? Like right now, in Madagascar, the conditions are just like crazy. Like you could walk in the daylight, but if you're a girl and you're alone, you're going to be a victim. Like that's just how it is. Like it's scary because you could just, I don't know, like now we're in Bethesda and we have open lunch, so we can walk to Giant. Like we don't have that doesn't exist in other countries. And that's another thing though about us, is that we're able to acknowledge that. I feel like here in Bethesda, a lot of the kids, they're not really grateful for everything that they have. And I don't want to straight up accuse them of that because I know that people will get like all defensive, but it's true, like there are just certain things that other people go through that we will never understand. And it makes me sad, but at the same time grateful that as much as, we go through a lot, there is somebody out there who's going through it worse. So, that's pretty much what I wanted to say about that.
I think you're right with, like, the kids here not being able to acknowledge the fact that they're here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, I'm not pointing any fingers or I'm not, like, stating anything like that. I apologize.
Yeah, apologies in advance.
Yeah. But some kids here, like, they'll argue like, oh, we have a right to free lunch, or not free lunch, but like freedom to go outside for lunch, or we have the right to, sit where we want for lunch. I'm like, in some places you can't. You don't have that. Even in America, you don't have that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not your right to go into Giant.
Exactly. And also at the same time, there are so many kids that make a mess out of these places.
Exactly.
But yeah, we still have that right to go there. Like it's not a right, it's a privilege.
Yeah. And it's angering too, because even being from somewhere else and people not really like seeing that from me, especially because I'm white.
Right.
But they generalize me with those people as well. And I'm like, But I'm not this person.
I'm just living.
Like,
I'm just in my own world, doing my own thing.
I say thank you and please when I get my things at Giant. Like,
that's another thing though about living with foreign parents. You're taught manners, like heavy on.
Yeah.
I remember I had like my friend, my neighbor, my best friend now. She's white and she's Irish, and I don't know if you've heard about like the Irish goodbye, but like they have this thing where they don't say bye when they leave. They just go. Honestly, that sounds super nice for me. Yeah, just being like, okay, bye. But because sometimes there are a lot of people in the place, and my parents are like, go say bye to everybody, and they like push you one person to the next, and you're like, bye. And I don't know about you, but for us, we do the French kiss, we do hugs. We're like,
yeah, same.
Like kiss on the cheeks. I'm like, oh my god, I'll do it again. And it's like, I used to think it was annoying, But now I understand that it really does make a difference when you acknowledge someone and thank them and show them that you appreciate what they're doing. Like my grandma, for example, she would have us, when we were little, every single night, she would have us say, "Good night, I love you." And before I go to bed, she would call my name and I'd be like, ugh, oh my gosh, I gotta say good night. But I think like when I grew up, I kind of stopped doing that a little bit, and it makes me sad. Like I see my grandma now, and like she's getting older and everything, and it makes me realize like she's just doing this because she wants to feel appreciated, you know. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with, you know, just ending it off peacefully, being like, "Good night, I love you," because you know sometimes you never know. You just never know.
Yeah, it's like last year my grandma passed away. I didn't even get to cry. My parents weren't here for it. Like they were in Lebanon, you know, doing the funeral. My brother, he wasn't close with her. I wasn't close with her, but he wasn't close with her either, even though he was her favorite. But I'm still mad about that. I'm still mad about that. But you know, it sucks ending everything on a bad note.
Yeah.
Because I tried my hardest as a grandchild. I sent her voice messages, all of that. But it sucks, like, she didn't return that to me.
Yeah.
That's kind of also what stemmed a lot of my problems. But it's, again, sorry, off topic, kind of.
It's
but
okay.
There's also a boy-girl difference.
Yeah.
Definitely with immigrants.
Of course. That's not off topic at all. Are you kidding me? There's definitely, with my mom, it's not necessarily like on purpose, but with her versus like with my little brother, it's definitely like, it's obvious of the birth order because she's also a last child. So she empathizes more with my brother because she understands like what he's going through, and I get that. But my brother and I, we're not that much, like we're not that far apart in terms of age difference. And, you know, I used to get attention from my mom. I used to, you know, she used to watch over me and everything. And then he was born. And there have been days where, like, she literally shut the door in my face because I was an annoying toddler. I mean, I would probably do the same thing if I had a child, be like, no, go away. But, I mean, it did hurt. Like, I don't remember it, but my dad likes to claim that I was crying and I just sat in front of the door for hours. And I feel like I can still notice that to this day, that there's a little bit of that tension. But it's not obvious or anything. I'm not like, oh my God, he's the favorite. Yeah. But it just makes me realize that there is a difference. Like, there's nothing you can do about it, though.
Yeah, like, I never got the typical younger sibling grow up. I was the younger sibling that acted like an older sibling but got treated like a middle child.
I see. Like, yeah.
And a lot of people don't even know that I'm a younger sibling.
Like, yeah, you do have a very, like, mature vibe with you.
Exactly. Like, I had to grow up a lot quicker than my brother.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, for the past, like, 5-6 years, my parents would go to Lebanon every year and leave me and my brother by ourselves. And my brother and I, we have 5 age difference.
Okay.
So he's 5 years older than me.
So he's in college now?
Yeah, he's about to graduate. He's 20.
From where?
UMD.
Oh.
Yeah. So, thing is, so I remember having to go to Giant during lunch, like last year especially when we were able to go to Giant for lunch. I remember having to go there during lunch and get like bell peppers. You had to carry a bag of lettuce around.
I think I actually rember you bringing a lot of things during 5th period.
Yeah.
I've always wondered, I was like, like, I mean, you do your own thing. But, like, I've always wondered about that, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of food, actually, what it's like to have, like, a different culture of food, you know? Yeah. Just something that isn't mac and cheese or butter noodles or...
Hey, I'll say something. Mac and cheese? What even is it?
Honestly, not gonna lie, Kraft mac and cheese is bomb. No, Annie's mac and cheese with the white shell cheddar. Ooh, it's good.
I apologize, I've never had that.
You gotta try it.
Probably, but I've been shamed out of mac and cheese. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but I remember when I was like in elementary school, I brought something that was from Madagascar, or it's a Malagasy dish, and this person was like, "What is that? That's weird." And I remember feeling like this kind of shame, like the shame to kind of like show my identity a little bit through the food that I eat. Like, dude, it's just freaking food. Like, if I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat. Like, I'm gonna eat so that my stomach doesn't make any noise.
Exactly. Like, would you rather me eat this, or in like what next period you hear?
Like, literally. Let's say you're taking a test and you hear like,
like, come on, you can't shame me out of something I love. Okay.
Exactly.
I remember, I never went through this because honestly, I love my food, Lebanese food too much to feel ashamed.
I love Malagasy food. I love it.
But I remember my brother, he used to, whenever he'd go to, because he was older than me when we moved here. He was 8. But I remember when he used to go to Ashburn, like our elementary school or middle school, and he, like, the few times he brought food over from home, like, he used to get bullied for it. And I remember being there, like, why is it gonna bother you? And after me,
it's not like it's going in your mouth.
Exactly, like I remember being there. I remember like being there with oh God, Miss Brenner. Sorry, I'm naming names.
Is this an elementary school teacher?
Yeah. Oh, God. She was racist.
Okay. Yeah.
She was terrible.
Oy.
She used to shame my my brother came in 4th grade. She gave him my brother came in 1-inch binder. She shamed him in front of the entire class.
What did she say?
She's saying, like, you're supposed to have a 2-inch binder. How do you not know that? My brother's like, yo, we didn't go over this.
Yeah.
All right? You told me a binder's a binder.
Yeah.
And, like, that also stems into what the kids are taught. Like, they're taught not to accept different things. Like, I go into school tomorrow.
Yeah.
I get a bowl of mjadara. It's a lentils and rice dish.
I love lentils and rice. I love lentils.
Doesn't look too appealing, but I'm telling you, full of iron. All right?
Bro, don't judge a book by its cover.
Like,
if
honestly,
it tastes good, it tastes good. I remember my mom. Okay, honestly, that's kind of a different story. But she brought home a dish that was Malagasy, and it was kind of more like definitely Malagasy kind of thing. And I was like, what is that? Bro, it was like beef tripe it looked rotten and brown. And I mean, if my mom liked it, she liked it, but it looked like something that was not edible. But I was like, I mean, if you like it, you like it. And she was like, do you want to try? I wasn't going to be like, no, keep that away from me. I obviously like chewed on it a little bit, but like, it's just like when it's in your mind, you're like, like you don't want to keep it in your mouth. But maybe I'm just picky towards that, you know. It's not that I'm shut off to every single thing that's Malagasy.
Exactly. Like, there's certain things that we won't have, but then you look at white kids.
Yeah, literally. Butter noodles, buttered rice.
Like, exactly. You have butter on your popcorn. I don't even like popcorn, first of all.
Really? I love a good popcorn during, like, watching a movie.
Oh, no, just hand me a cucumber. I'm set.
Wow. Okay, fair. That's fair.
But you look at what they're eating. You look at what they bring to school or what they give you at lunch, and it's like, this is.
You call that food?
Exactly.
You're gonna tell me like you're not hungry after eating that?
Like,
okay.
You don't get nutritions from this. And honestly, my one dish of mjadara offers a lot, like 10 times more spices than your entire lifestyle. Okay, like,
salt is not a spice, people.
Yeah, pepper's not a spice. You gotta hit me with the cumin. You gotta hit me with the Italian seasoning, oregano,
cayenne pepper.
Paprika. Exactly.
Gotta hit us with this. Not salt and pepper. That don't count,
dude. What is?
I will say though, lemon pepper.
Lemon pepper is dope. You put that on fish.
Put that on chicken.
Oh,
chicken wings.
That's good with some potatoes on the side. Oh, I didn't eat anything.
No, I'm looking at my sandwich like I'm about to grab it.
Like, here's the thing: you should be able to smell the spices. Yeah. From like.
You should be able to be like
you're away. You should be able to like.
That's food. Yeah.
This person's gonna enjoy what they're eating.
Yes.
But you can't just look at a bowl of Kraft mac and cheese. I apologize.
Yeah.
Again, you can't look at a bowl of Kraft mac and cheese and be like, are you really content with this?
Yeah. Where's the protein?
Yeah. Like, stop shaming me for my enjoyment of my culture.
I feel like that's the thing though. Like, they don't realize that they're necessarily shaming us for just literally being ourselves. It's really just what they're taught.
Yeah.
You know, because I do believe that if they were raised and taught about different cultures and how different people live and how that is okay, they would not have that mindset that they do now.
Exactly.
You know?
Like, if your mom once in a while, maybe, sorry, like a regular, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
a white person's mom
Yeah.
brought home, maybe sometimes, like when the kid's like 3, brings home, I don't know, some shawarma.
Yeah.
That's already a step towards being able to understand what other people's cultures are. Or
Right.
like,
Just showing that there's a different side to different
you
foods.
show them like kebab, and a kid asks, "Oh, where's this from?" From Lebanon,
Yeah.
or from like Palestine, or
Yeah.
from the Middle East, and you're just like, "Oh, you know what? Their food is dope."
Yes.
You don't. Then you start thinking
Amen.
about you start thinking about the food before you think about like what bad things they did.
Right. I hate it. Absolutely hate it when you said that 9/11 comment, I was like genuinely like, wow. Like that is wow. Because it's like, first of all, 2 people out of how many citizens of Lebanon that were part of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Like 2 people. They don't represent like more than 1 million.
Exactly. And honestly, that gave me like a thick skin. Like it takes a lot to offend me. It takes you going after my family for me to offend, for me to like throw hands.
Like, ayo.
Like, yeah, you could say whatever you want about me, but don't say it about my family. And I remember again, 5th grade. 5th grade.
About to go in it deep.
I was like, there was this one girl I hated. She was, well, she was adopted. I know that, but at the
same time, she was adopted.
Yeah.
So.
And I have a friend that's adopted. He does not act like her. Yeah. And her parents are good people. But I remember, like, she was bullying, like, some students, or, like, she had a lot of temper tantrums. She was going crazy. And then one time my friends confronted her. They were also friends of theirs, saying, like, yeah, why do you say all that bad stuff about Rhea? And then she just started going off on my family.
Lord.
Like, you know what? Her dad goes away, like, for months at a time. And I'm like...
If it doesn't bother Rhea, why does it bother you?
Yeah, like, like, dude, I've made peace with the fact that my dad cannot make it to, like, some of my recitals. I know that because he has to work. Yeah. Like, it's a struggle that I know you're not going to have to go through. Yeah. And I'm okay with that because I know I'm grateful that he can even make it to some of my recitals.
Or that he's even doing it for you.
Exactly.
Like, at the end of the day.
That he's doing this so that I can be able to play the guitar. He's doing this so I could be able to play soccer. Yeah. He's doing this so my brother could be able to play soccer, for him to be able to play the piano. And I remember, like, how privileged does one have to be? And I'm not a violent person. I got up.
As one would, though. I would do the same thing.
And I was friends with, like, all the boys. So I had, like, 4 athletic dudes just holding me back and not her. Because they knew how it was getting tough. And honestly, it's, like, one of the few times some kids have seen me cry. There's, like, 2 times ever. Some kids I'm not friends with have seen me cry. And that's one of them because you shouldn't, first of all, never assume one's position. Like, I've made excuses for her my whole life. Like, it's okay, she was going through something too. Why couldn't she do the same thing for me? Yeah.
Sometimes you get tired, and it's okay to get tired. Yeah. It's okay to have enough. It's more than okay. But yeah, honestly, I think we could end it off here because we have talked about a lot. So for those of you listening, thank you for listening to all of this, and I'll see you at the next episode. Thank you, Rhea, for joining.
Thanks for having me.